We started with this whole idea of automating different nice research methodologies several years ago. And at one of the IIeX conferences, we presented that methodology, and we got into the conversations with our clients, what else is in their wish list, what else they would love us to automate. And one of them said, well, it would be awesome if you could automate Conjoint. And we understood that Conjoint is super complex and involved thing, but we started looking into it. And it took us quite some years to understand it deeply enough in order to create a new spin on it and do what we did. So let me walk you through it. This is a statement that is recurring on this conference and many other conferences. Everything that can be automated should be automated. Everything that should be automated will be automated. And everything else is art. And art is keyword for me because I came from graphic design, UI, UX background. I'm not a researcher by education. But somehow I ended up in this beautiful industry. And this is how I approach challenges, how I solve business problems that our business is facing. So this is a case study about using UI and UX as a tool, as a design thinking approach, to bring the robust and powerful methodologies such as Conjoint in the hands of people who are not classically using it because they either don't know how to use it or they don't have the time or the money budgets to do it. So our business objective was to make it reliable, to make it fast, to make it easy, to expand the horizons of the market. And I'm going to ask you what comes to mind when you hear the word conjoint. Say again?
Feature trade-off.
Feature trade-off. What else?
Expensive.
Expensive, great. Complex, thank you. Yeah, I feel like I read some minds here. So it is expensive. It is labor intense typically. It is sometimes mobile unfriendly. Salespeople think, oh great, Conjoint, it's going to be a lot of money for my company. It's long and it's also pretty good in terms of quality. When we talk to our clients, especially corporate clients, they love Conjoint because it's just a smart, robust methodology, but it comes at a high cost, both money-wise and time-wise. So another thing that comes to mind is Sawtooth. Do we have anyone from Sawtooth in the audience? Okay, so Sawtooth, I really like the team there. I really like what they did. We are using them, and as many other people in our industry, I think that they became the gold standard of Conjoint, and they put a lot of effort and a lot of diligence in building awesome methodology and improving upon it. The common traits are such that it's done by researchers for researchers, and it's highly trusted, highly reputable, and done by a brilliant team. What we also see happening is that Conjoint, as well as other methodologies, are being rapidly incorporated in survey tools of the new wave, such as Conjointly. If you haven't heard of them, I heard of them about maybe less than a year ago. They're started out of Australia, and I believe that they will be presenting at this conference as well. I look forward to it. But we also see Conjoint modules appearing in platforms such as Survey Gizmo and Qualtrics. So the common traits there is that they are done by developers for researchers, also brilliant teams, and it's somewhat of an experiment every time because we're making new ways of how to adopt the same methodology to new problems. And excuse my simplification now, but I'm going to try to express in very layman terms what Conjoint is, because that's what we do day in and day out with our clients who are not researchers, right? So what is Conjoint anyway? It takes It takes the knowledge of all the alternatives, all the attributes and options that client has already in their head. It puts it in a box or bag, and the model starts experimenting with it, right? It starts combining different attributes and options in all sorts of different weird ways. And sometimes they produce great results, sometimes they look somewhat awkward or strange. But in the end, the methodology is looking for a unicorn. It's looking for the best combination and then compares how it does. It projects what's the market share that it will produce compared to other products. Well, when we started this project, we had two somewhat competing agendas, right? We wanted to create an automated conjoint that is exceptionally fast. At the other hand, it wouldn't work if it was just fast and not robust and not reliable and accurate. So we went ahead first with trying to combine those two sides of the equation. It didn't work, so we had to create two sub-products, right? That was our first important decision. So we created Conjoint Express and Conjoint Segmentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about Conjoint Express. So our priorities were that, as I said, a CMO of a medium-sized company may never heard the term conjoint. They may have heard it, but don't know how to start even approaching it. But we had to make sure that it's very easy to set up, that no special education is needed for it. We also had to make sure that the data can be processed in real time. This is very important because it follows the logic of our platform, right? Everything is drag and drop, everything is analyzed in real time. And it had to be very easy to interpret. We liked using the PowerPoints and Excels, but we wanted to do something else that would allow us to create the visualization and simulator and embed it right on the web page. So the methodology, the tech that went into the building of it is called multi-nominal logistic regression, thanks to this guy. And it starts with drag and drop. You just get to your editor, you put your conjoint experiment into the place, you list, copy, and paste all your alternatives and options, you can illustrate it. Then a simple set of choices that we ask our clients to make how many of those packages they want to be presented on a single page, whether or not they want an A option, and that produces those different comps. And then another priority that is always very important to us is that respondents will have fun answering the survey, that they will not fall asleep, that it will be a great experience for them. So that's essentially what transpired. Excuse me, let me get back. So this is the survey taking experience here. It works on desktop computers. You are asked to look at 3 or 4 2 columns. We highlight the horizontal line to help people better associate different options between the options. And it really takes very few screens in Conjoint Express setup. And then you are done. On mobile devices, we opted out from using vertical screen because it just doesn't work well with Conjoint. People turn it horizontally and it works much better. And on the stats page, we created this new interface that allows you to see the whole picture of how Conjoint package performed. And this is the little animation that I did. You can read the package and what it consists of horizontally using all those columns, but you can also interact with it. You can hide some of the columns if they're not very interesting to you. You can see the overall importance of an attribute by just looking at the height of the column. And of course, you can click on the options to see what the trade-off will be, how that will improve or reduce the power of the package. This percentage here on the left shows the likelihood of respondents in this target audience choosing this package over a random other package that could be produced out of this number of combinations. And that's in an essence, Conjoint Express. As I said, the pros are that it takes only minutes to set up an answer, and that anyone can use and analyze the results in practically real time. The cons are that it considers only aggregated data, that it's somewhat an approximation, and that it has this inherited problem of reporting the averages for the entire sample. Conjoint segmentation, on the other hand, our priorities were different. We wanted highest accuracy possible. We wanted to optimize for data crunching cycles to be as short as possible, and we had to expand the methodology. We always like to add something on top of the existing status quo. So here's the output of Express. Imagine a situation in which some people love Paris, some people don't like Paris for one reason or another. The problem with Conjoint Express is that it will look at the entire distribution and it will show us a mean. And in this case, it would give us a false perception that Paris wasn't a factor. One way or another, it was very near the zero. Conjoint segmentation, on the other hand, looks into the opinions of each individual respondent and draws the perception of the clusters of people who have expressed different unique opinions. So there will be a camp of people who love Paris and a camp of people who don't like it. And while the mean is where it is, it's in the same place, we have this new understanding of the market. Conjoint segmentation is based on hierarchical Bayesian model, which we thought is such a proven and wonderful method that we have to incorporate it. And there is some other cool technology that was used in making of this tool. We used the Fisher and Fisher exact test and some clustering added on top of the multinomial logistic. It does require more screens for respondents to go through, about 7 to 10 screens. And the optimization, we started with crunching the numbers for 9 hours. On several iterations, our dev team figured out how to do it in 15 minutes, which is more of a standard these days. It's not yet real time on that level of analysis, but it's still pretty damn fast. The layer on top of that I'm really excited about is the segmentation part, right? When you know what's going on the level of each individual respondent, you can then run some additional analysis and figure out what are the ideal products, plural, in the data set. If you know the work of Howard Moskowitz, nicely popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in one of his TED Talks, the concept there is that there's no ideal spaghetti sauce, right? There are many ideal spaghetti sauces directed to different audience. And that, I felt, is a very important a bottleneck of a classical conjoint that we wanted to overcome. It takes the same interface, it takes the same data, but then it makes one more step. It looks at the clusters and it creates personas out of them automatically. It's a segmentation layer on top of the classical conjoint. As you go through those buttons on the top, you will see what this package looks like and what are the preferences, but they will be shown for entire sample or for individual personas that we saw in the data. And they will have very different priorities. Some of them will say that they're not willing to go on vacation to Moscow. I don't know why. Some of them will have higher affinity toward Paris or Venice or other places. We look at the correlation between those expressed differences in their opinion on conjoint and what we know about them in terms of demographics and what we know about them in terms of what they said on other questions of the survey. So All that information is presented here at top. We also export it into PowerPoint, so you can see the entire picture, what happened. You can export a precise combination of the attributes and options. And you get to see 10 most promising, most viable combinations of conjoint. And for the last few minutes, I wanted to talk about testing and optimization, how we get to this release. First of all, we wanted, of course, to make sure that our tech is on par with the industry standards. And we tested it against Sawtooth. We got very, very aligned on the modeling, very close, practically in the center. The second thing that we tested, what was the sample size that was enough for running this experiment. And as you can see, starting at 400, surprise, surprise, all the data points started converging and becoming pretty nicely aligned. The other interesting thing for me was to figure out what's the function of the NA option. NA, when you give it to respondents, first, they like it. Secondly, it shows pretty much the same answer, the same picture, but if you have NA in the hierarchical Bayesian, it makes the model a little bit more sure in the results. Finally, we wanted to make sure that conjoint segmentation and conjoint express ultimately telling the same story on the aggregate level. And I'm very happy that it did converge as well. Last thing that we tested was the happiness of respondents, because that's always very important to us. And we found that on the 7-star scale, all our experiments were clustered in this little gap. The delta was only 1/10 of a star, but naturally, shorter experiments, shorter surveys were higher liked. The conjoint segmentation was a little bit lower, but options with NA were more popular than the others. And here you have it. We've proven that it's possible to make something easy for clients and respondents. It's possible to get the conjoint analyzed in real time without any delay whatsoever. It's possible to create such new visualization for this data that makes intuitive sense for people who never heard the term conjoint. And on the segmentation part, we achieved the highest possibly accuracy with everything intact, without compromising the experience. We optimized the data crunching time. And we did, I hope, add something valuable and new on this trajectory. Thank you so much. We are going to have a live demo of this tech at 3:30 in the boardroom. If you're interested, please stop by and take a look. You can also play with it at our booth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.